This is the book of Matthew, chapter 13, beginning at verse 15. It reads, "For this people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes have slakia, and their eyes they have closed, lest at any time they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and should understand with their heart, and should be converted, and I should heal them." Hey, Shalom, Akim, Shalom. Before I begin, I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and all glory unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachakodash. A double honor to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone who rule and who teach all time of this truth and sincerity. All right, peace, blessings, salutations unto the hopeful elect Wa'akwat who are listening in truth and in sincerity. And I'm the brother Gabari Allah out here in California. Okay, coming at you with another lesson. All right, and this lesson, all right, is going to be a part two of the little mini series. All right, that I got going, part two, entitled "Qualities of Being a Leader, Vision." Okay, qualities of being a leader, vision. Now, the Heavenly Father and the only begotten Son, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, through their Spirit, have allowed us to have this vision. You know, and I'm not speaking of like literal, like yeah, the Lord will give us visions in a sense of dreams and whatnot, but in this terms, I'm speaking of being able to imagine, being able to envisionize certain things. Okay. When you first heard this ministry, that's why a lot of people don't believe. Okay, because they can't visualize it. They can't see themselves as being the true leaders, as being true men of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, so to speak. They can't visualize being holy unto the Lord, being loved by Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. That's what they're always like, man, the Lord love everybody, which is not the case, all right? The Lord has a special, the Lord's his only people are really Israel, right? You so-called Negro Latinos and Native Americans, man. You see? Okay, but a true quality of being a leader is being able to see these visions, all right? Visualize certain things. Okay, have an imagination. You see? Because so many of my lessons have came from just that, imagining things, you know? When brothers go, are making the videos, you have to have an imaginative mindset, be visualizing these things, man. When you're praying, you know, you gotta just, you know, in a sense, visualize that your prayers are gonna be answered. You see, when you're making lessons, visualize things. That'll take you. When you're reading the scriptures, you gotta really visualize these things, man. You can't just be reading the scriptures like it's just a regular book. Nah, man, you gotta visualize these things because there's a lot of heaviness, all right, in these books, man. A lot of heaviness within these stories that are being told, man. Okay. When you read in the book of Job, are you visualizing that the Lord, okay, you visualizing the sores on Job? Are you visualizing, you know, how Job must have been like shit? You know, are you visualizing King David smiting tens of thousands when it's saying it? Are you visualizing him jumping over that tall ass gate? You know? Are you visualizing these things, man? Or are you just reading it and you're just like, hey, that's what the Lord describes you as lively stones. You got to be lively, you know? Being able to be a visionary in a sense. Okay? That's why I opened up with Matthew 13. All right? But real quick, I want to start a little lower. Matthew 13. Okay? Let me start at verse. Let me see. This chapter is heavy. I'll start at verse 9. Actually, I'll start at verse 7. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them. But others fell into good ground, and brought forth fruit, and some an hundredfold, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. Right. Okay. You gotta really imagine yourself possibly being of that number, you gotta really believe that. Like, hey, the Lord called me when he was suffering, when he was enduring his chastisement, when he was suffering, he was thinking of me. Like, shit, I gotta go through this for my elect, for this brother, for that brother. When Yahushua was suffering, I mean, it's very, we can't even imagine the suffering that he went through, man. Even when you try to imagine, you try to put yourself in his shoes, and that's what allows you to show more gratitude towards Yahushua. When you're really imagining his suffering, like, ah, damn, like, he really went through that. Like, shit, he really done, did all that, through all that, you know, for his elect, for his people, for ultimately the whole nation of Israel, but for his elect right now, the 1/3 of the Asherah. You see? And you gotta, with that, you can bring forth good fruit, videos, lessons. All right. If you don't have an imaginative, Slakia, if you don't have an imaginative, brain, if you can't really imagine these things, your lessons aren't gonna really be, for the most part, they're gonna be bland, you know? That's why when you're reading the scriptures, you gotta really visualize it, man. Visualize, when you're reading the book of First Samuel, Samuel, visualize the people trembling at his presence. Visualize, like, oh shit, it's Samuel. Hey, hey, you know. Visualize the way Samuel walked, you know. Visualize the way he talked. He Jake. I mean, he got swagger on him. You see? Visualize the way King David was walking, the way he was talking, the way he, what I'm saying, the way he got on what's her name? I believe her name is Michael or Michal or something along that lines. Yeah, visualize the way he told that, hey, you ain't getting no rod for the rest of your life. And them girls, they gonna get my rod, but not you. Visualize the way he said that, man. You see, these are qualities of being a good leader, a true leader. Because this way you can really inspire and motivate Jake. Motivate the nation of Israel, Yasharala, man, with your lessons. Because now you got the imagination. Now you can relay it towards them. Now they can have the imagination. Now, like, oh shit, you know. And it's such a beautiful thing to have that vision that the Lord has granted you with. Because that's a gift of the Lord, man. Because if everybody had that same vision, everybody would have been on the same thing. But guess what? Ain't nobody on the same thing. They can't visualize it, man. They can't visualize Yahushua being a so-called black man. They can't visualize that. Even with the description, man. You know? So it says, verse 9, who hath ears to hear, let him hear. And the disciples came and said unto him, why speakest thou unto them in parables? He answered and said unto them, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom, but to them it is not given. You see, so that's code, man. So his disciples like, hey man, why you speaking to them like, why are you talking to them with mysteries pretty much, with riddles? They were like, look, they ain't gonna get it because it wasn't given to them. It was given to you. It was given to you to know the mysteries of the kingdom. Along with that is that vision. That's why you can visualize Yahushua being a so-called black man. That's why you can visualize the fucking nukes coming over here and burning this fucking place, man. That's why you can visualize all these things. That's why you can visualize Yahushua being cool with Jake, you know? You can visualize when he was whipping that mother wicked ass Jake. That motherfucker, he was pissed, you know? That's why you can visualize all these things, man. Because it's given to you, it's a gift. And that gives you a closer connection to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, man. You know? It says, verse 11, he answered unto Slaki. He answered and said unto them, Because it is given us, like you already read that, verse 12 says, For whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away even that he hath. You see? So when the Lord is dealing with you, you're going to be abundance. That vision, you're like, oh shit. You try to imagine, how King David, was, man. You know what I mean? Because the whole nation loved King David, you know? You try to imagine the riches that Solomon had, you're like, damn, man, god damn. 'Cause even that one, Queen of Sheba, when she came, she was like, damn, this is even more than I was told, you know? They couldn't even, if the, man, if they couldn't describe, if they couldn't put it into great amount of words, the men that were there that I was seeing that kingdom of Solomon, they couldn't describe it as good enough to Sheba that they was there during that time. When it was written, how much less now? You see, but guess what? You have been given the vision to see these things. Now you can visualize like, damn, not a single silver spoon was Solomon eating with, man. All gold. Like, damn, that's some riches, man. You know? It says, verse 13, Therefore speak I to them in parables, because they seeing see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. Right. So when you preaching to a brother, or when you preaching to or when you speaking with a brother, you guys are able to sub like, yeah, yeah, I can see that. Hey, you start adding on to stuff. Like, oh, he was probably, you know, hey, I was shy when he was on the scene. He was cool with Jake, you know, with his disciples. How he was, you know what I mean? When he was with his disciples, you know. And then it also allows you to visualize the more, the bitter parts, you see? So it better prepares your mind too, man. It prepares your mind better for the chastisement, you see? Because now you're like, ah, shit. You know? When you come to Slack, yeah, I can stupid ass phone call, even though I'm on Do Not Disturb. But that's just Satan, you know? That's just Satan. All right, you gotta really visualize these things. It says, where am I at? Verse 14, it says, And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Esaias, which saith, By hearing ye shall hear, and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see, and not perceive. All right, now let me get that word perceive, okay? On the Edom Online. All right, damn. Uh, Get it on the Edom Online. Paste. It says, become aware of, gain knowledge, especially to come to know by direct experience, perceive, notice, see, recognize, understand, obtain, gather, seize entirely, take possession of, to grasp with the mind. You see that? To grasp with the mind. You on a whole nother level when you're able to visualize these things, man. So that's why it's a quality of being a leader. Because now you can uplift the sheep with that. You're like, hey, imagine the kingdom we're gonna have in it. You know what I mean? You're gonna be you're gonna be from the most beautiful woman on the planet. You're gonna fly to the, you're gonna be with the most beautiful planet. And you're gonna be like, oh shit. You know? Thinking about how it's gonna be with them spiritual powers. You're gonna be flying, never sick. Never is your temperature gonna be even mildly too high or mildly too low. You know what I mean? Never you gonna be hot. Never you gonna need to sweat. Never you gonna need to do nothing, man. Never stuffy nose, nothing. You never have to cough. Yo, you never gonna have to cough again, man. You never gonna be yawning and shit. That's all of this flesh, man. You know? You never gonna be shit. You never gonna have to walk again if you don't want to fucking walk again, man. You gonna have the perfect body. Never gonna have to cook again. You never gonna have a bad thought again. You're never gonna be depressed. You're never gonna have money problems. Your hair never gonna grow too long. You gotta get a haircut. Fuck all that, man. That's all of this fucking world. Your hair's gonna be perfect length, however long you want it, however short. Also, let me not say that. Okay, because you can't have it, too fucking long, right? But you gonna have it, in the law, if it's all right in the law, all right, you gonna have, if you want an afro or whatever, you know what I mean? And we're gonna look how we're supposed to look, man. We're not gonna be no fucking light skins. Me personally, I'm a little brown, but I would love to have more melanin on me, man. That's a beautiful, beautiful color that Jake had, man. You're never gonna be sunburned. You're never gonna have a pimple. None of that, man. That's all of this fucking flesh. You know? It's gonna be, man. Call Allah Yahweh Shimmy Shai, man. You're gonna be able to telepathically speak with brothers, Then you ain't gonna need to pick up a phone, man. You'll be like, hey, you gonna teleport to a brother. Hey, Shalom, bro. You know what I mean? Distance ain't never gonna be a problem. You're never gonna have to wake up. Shoot, bro. You can be, man. Hey, call Allah Yahweh Shimmy Shai, bro. You can be asleep for 4 days. You're gonna wake up like, ah, damn, what's going on? You know? You ain't never gonna need man, hey, it's gonna be beautiful, bro. Okay? But that's how you can grasp it with your mind now, bro. You see? You ask these fucking retards, these stupid ass Christians, how is heaven gonna be like, some of us are gonna go to heaven, some of us are gonna go to hell, like, man, you know, not because all spirits go somewhere. All spirits go to what? To who? Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, to the Lord, the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, who is the Father of spirits, man. Come on, you see? So yeah, call Allah Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, man. Hey, it's a beautiful thing we got, brothers. It's a beautiful thing we got, brothers. All right. Now I'm gonna go to verse 15. It says, "For this people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest at any time they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and should understand with their heart, which means mind, and should be converted, and I should heal them." Right? Because these people can't and visualize. They don't have the vision, you know? Are you starting to see the importance of having that vision, of being able to visualize, imagine it, imagination, bro? Shoot, Yahweh Shimei Shai has the best imagination ever. The Heavenly Father gave a blueprint to Yahweh Shai, on the angels and the elect. You know what I mean? You know? Right now, we only have a glimpse, bro. It's like, even as beautiful as imagination is, bro, it's not even gonna compare to what man, let me tell you, bro. Our feeble little minds, in this, how much more the Heavenly Father, man, when the only begotten Son, what do they have prepared for us, man? Our minds are so feeble compared to them, and if we're able to imagine all this, imagine the things we can't imagine that are too much for us right now, you know? Hey, call Allah Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, but that's that's a quality of being a true leader, man. And Lord willing, this is being uplifting so far, because that's really what I wanted, this series to be an uplifting one, an exhorting one, so that you can, if you lacking one of these qualities, you can work on it, man. Because I know when I was first in this ministry, yeah, you have vision, you're imaginative, Jake naturally, imaginative, you know, but over time you start to get more imaginative, like, oh shit, oh damn. Or when a brother is speaking to you, all right, he's like, imagine this, bro. And, he's speaking to you about this, you're like, oh shit, you know what I mean? It's beautiful, bro. All right, it says, verse 16, but blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. You see that? For verily I say unto you, that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which ye see, and have not seen them, and to hear those things which ye hear, and have not heard them. See that? You know? So, hey, brothers, you know what I mean? Call Allah Yahweh Shem Yahushai, man. You know what I mean? And what does a prophet mean? To see before. You gotta visualize these things, bro. They called the prophets back then what? Seers. You know what I mean? How you think Samuel, how you think the book of Samuel was written? How you think these books was written, man? Yeah, the Lord gave him the vision. Okay, but they had to, write it down. There was, man, call Allah Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, man. And the Lord has, given us certain shows that, brothers recommend, like the House of David show. It's a beautiful show thus far. I'm not finished with it yet, but it's a beautiful show thus far. But even in those, you gotta be more imaginative, man. Because they all they don't know what the fuck going on. They do, but shit, they obviously not gonna portray them us, uh, you know, David and us being Jake. You know what I mean? They all look fucking. I mean, but you gotta be able to imagine that too, man. Imagine King David being so-called black man. You know? Shoot, imagine how yourself was looking back then. I often, hey, when I've tried to imagine, like, hey, man, you know, what type of man was I? You know what I mean? In the ancient world, because we all know the Lord was cycling spirits, so to speak. Reincarnation, regeneration. So it's all being, vision, 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 man. It's an important quality to have. You see? All right, man. So, um, let me see real quick. All right, because hey, well, we gonna come. That's why the brothers are go so crazy with prophecy, and how the elect are gonna be saved. That's why the elders and apostles, they go so deep with the words that they use. Scarcely shall ye be saved. From the skin of your teeth, man. You gonna barely be saved, bro. So we imagine these things like, okay, scarcely be saved. We don't know how we're gonna be saved, but we know the Lord is gonna, He's gonna be with us somehow. The Lord gives us little visions, you know, to help us even imaginative even more. You see, so it's a gift, man. All right, but yeah, that's pretty much it, Akim. Lord willing, it was edifying. Okay. Well, actually, let me grab this account real quick. Okay, because we know that through vision, okay, have the men of old have also been given actual seeing. They were actually seeing these things. So I'm gonna grab the book of Second Kings chapter 6. All right, I'll just get straight to the point. Okay. Uh, let me see. I'll get straight to the point. Verse 12, 2 Kings 6 and 12. And one of his servants said, None, my lord, O king, but Elisha the prophet, that is in Israel, telleth the king of Israel that the words that thou speakest in thy bedchamber. And he said, Go and spy where he is, that I may fetch him. And it was told, saying, Behold, he is in Dothan. Therefore sent he thither horses and chariots and a great host, and they came by night and compassed the city about. And when the servant of the man of power was risen early and gone forth, behold, an host compassed the city, both with horses and chariots. And his servant said unto him, Alas, my master, what shall we do? Okay, so to get a better understanding, all right, Elisha, okay, being he was the helper of Elijah, okay, before he was beamed up into a chariot, okay, and Elisha had prayed for a double portion of Elijah's spirit. You see? So it says so pretty much the king of Syria was trying to capture Elisha, you know? So they surrounded him by horses, and they had a great army, okay? But look, check this out, man. The power of vision. So, so now the servant, Elisha's servant, like, oh fuck, we're fucked me, imagine Elisha, imagine Elisha's servant, he's like, oh shit, we done fucked up. He's like, fuck. Jake gets scared, you know, Jake is scary ass. You know what I mean? Jake is like, ah, fuck, we fucked. Yeah, he's like, oh, you know, he's like, what are we gonna do, Elisha? What are we gonna do, man? Check this out. And he answered, Fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them. Woo. So Elisha's like, man, why you tripping for? Why you tripping, Debo? uh, you know, uh, from that movie Friday, but he's like, man, to put it plainly, man, why you tripping for, man? Don't you know that what we serving, man, it's the Lord, man. Come on. You see? And Elisha prayed and said, Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see. And the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha. Damn. So you gotta visualize this, like, oh shit. Now the servant of Elisha is seeing why Elisha isn't worried. Because he's like, why is he so calm? Does he not see this army? And Elisha's like, please, Lord, Baba Kishah, let my servant see your power. You know what I mean? Let him see your power. Let him see why I'm not nervous. You're like, oh shit, it's chariots. So you gotta visualize, you know, if you really believe in this thing and you hopeful that you of the elect and you truly believe that, you gotta imagine the same thing. The scriptures say that when two or three are gathered in my name, I am in the midst of them. The chariots encampeth around about the men that fear him. Fear who? Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. And we fear the Lord. So you gotta believe that these are same angels, same chariots. That's why we see chariots. You know what I mean? There's a guardian angel protecting you, man. You know? You gotta visualize that and you gotta believe it, man. Because guess what? The same things written involved were written for our learning. So just like Elisha prayed for this for his servant, and he was able to see, you gotta visualize that, okay, I can't directly see it, but what did the Lord say? Through faith, man. We walk by faith, not by sight. So we can't see it, but we imagine it. Oh shit. You imagine this. You imagine the chariots. Chariots are encamping around about you. You imagine your guardian angel, when your gut is telling you something, hey, when you get a bad feeling or something, you got to do something. That's your guardian angel. Hey, bro, you know what I mean? You got to do this. The Lord is sending him to tell you, you know? It says, and when they came down to him, Elisha prayed unto the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, and said, Smite this people, I pray thee, with blindness, and he smote them with blindness according to the word of Elisha. You see? All right, and Elisha was merciful that, he pretty much he sent them back to it, with the blindness, man. So did the Lord curse these motherfuckers with blindness? You see? All right, but that's pretty much all I had, brothers. Lord willing was edifying. Lord willing, you noticed the importance of visualization. All right, so this has been qualities of being a leader, vision. All right, with that, Lord willing, is edifying. Call Allah, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushua, Bahashim, Chakurash. Double honor to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone yet again, for time of truth and sincerity. Peace, blessings, salutations to the hopeful elect, while to listening in truth and in sincerity. With that, I say, Shalom.